Hey, it's Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley, and you are listening to 6th Scale Scavengers.
All right, Scavengers, welcome to episode 55 of the 6th Scale Scavengers. A little bit of a different intro this week. I'm your host, Bryan Fontaine, joined as always with my good friends, Chris Letty and TC. Yeah, guys, I don't know, Chadwick Boseman passing hit me particularly like a ton of bricks this past Friday. And I know we were chatting amongst our council and our Scavengers Facebook page was just I still can't believe it. Seeing his photo appear on the screen, I thought it was some sort of a prank. I didn't think it could be possible. We didn't even know that he was sick. And then Chris, I guess I'll start it with you. I mean, I just think it speaks so much to, obviously we're all nerds, we're all collectors. We love Star Wars, we love Marvel, we love the MCU. Obviously, Black Panther is a huge part of that, with the groundbreaking film in 2018 with Black Panther. And then, we learned so much about the world building about Wakanda, and then to see it again in Infinity War. And it felt like we were going home to Wakanda. Hearing more and more about this, Chris, I feel so bad. And it's just 43 is far too young. And just to see what he must have been going through behind the scenes. And I think I know I'm already rambling here because I thought about what I was going to say all day, and the words they're not coming to me right now. That's why we have the motto that we do. I mean, you never know what somebody's going through in life behind the scenes. And if you treat everybody with respect and you're nice to them, I mean, that's the only thing you can ask. And that is Chadwick personified here. I mean, to be at the top of the world, on the surface, to be a movie star and to be an icon and a hero to so many people, and to be battling for his life. I think that's just the part that just gets me the most.
Yeah, it really does. My wife and I just watched the ABC special, the tribute to Chadwick Boseman, right before we came on, and he was just an amazing person. He was everything that you would want to be in a person. The strength that he showed on a daily basis. He's an example of what, the type of person we all should be. And just for him to have gone through all this and shown the strength and fortitude to keep on pushing, and to show everyone that, he didn't make it public. So this was an internal battle with, those closest to him and them. And looking back with everything that he was going through, it gives you, I don't know, I'm rambling too. I wish that, and I hope that people see the type of person he was, and, a little piece of that can go into them, and then, everybody on this earth is better for having witnessed Chadwick's performances, and on the screen and off the screen, he gave everything to everyone, and I feel so bad that we lost him at such a young age. He had so much more life to live, and I'm grateful for the time that we, as fans of cinema, I'm glad we have his body of work to always go back to, and I just hope that, his legacy touches those in future generations. So it hit me hard just because he's so close in age, and to have to battle through that, it's just really tough.
Yeah, it's very clear that he was incredibly well respected and loved by so many fans, people that he worked with, his family, friends, and the fact that he was but the fact that he did keep it private, and I think there were reports that Kevin Feige didn't even know, and I don't know if that's true, but there are reports that very few people knew about his illness during, the filming of Infinity War and Endgame, and the fact that he was able to do that just shows his strength. And I watched a little bit of Infinity War today, and I don't think you can watch those movies the same when you see his character. I think people watch them and it'll have a different impact, because Chadwick was, like I said, well respected and just an amazing person. And it's very clear that everybody who knew him felt the same way. And just hearing that from a third party view, it's just very sad, like you said, Chris and Bryan. So
yeah, geez, not to be a downer here, but I think the impact that he had will be talked about for a long time. And yeah, I don't think there's much we don't mean to start out with a somber note here, but I think the fact that this is means that much, and what he has been able to do or was able to do, we have to pay him his respect. So I just wanted to give a brief moment of silence for Chadwick. All right. Rest in power, King. Wakanda forever. Well, not the way that we would love to start off a show here, guys, but we do have some collecting stuff to talk about. Seems kind of trivial, but I think one of the ways that we cope with stuff like this, and kind of the escapism that we have as collecting, is to just, so many people, so many scavengers out here, and it just baffles me that they get so much enjoyment out of us, just the three of us friends just bantering about collecting. And if this helps in any way, that's why we're here, and we'll just kind of continue on the conversation, guys.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Okay. So as we said, episode 55, we just had a bonus episode last week where we got together with a 6-scale economist and covered all the Ahsoka and 501st Cologne Battalion troopers. So if you haven't caught that video yet, please do. I can't even believe, guys, it's already one of our most viewed videos of all time, and it hasn't even been out for a week.
Wow.
So I think that just speaks to how Ahsoka broke the internet, Chris.
Definitely did.
So episode 55, as I collect myself and recompose myself to moderate this conversation, we are going to have our news, our collection updates. Our topic for this episode is we're going to share lessons that we would love to share with our past selves. It's kind of a play on words with Back to the Future. You'll see why a little bit later on, why that was inspired from the title. And then finally, we're going to review the new Spider-Man homemade suit from From Home MMS552. We've got some photos to share. obviously Scott with Parker Files already did a fantastic review. If you haven't already checked that out, that's already one of his most viewed videos outside of the Module Case. He just put out a new video today doing a retro review for Red Skull, one of the earliest MCU figures that they did. He did one for Falcon lately. So if you're not subscribing and watching Scott's channel on Parker Files, make sure you go ahead and do that. All right, guys, let's get to that news. So obviously we covered the Ahsoka and the 501st Clone Battalions last week. I don't think there's a lot of need to go ahead and do that again, but we did get a Star Wars release and a surprise Star Wars release already with the Incinerator Trooper TC from The Mandalorian, TMS 012 television masterpiece series.
Yeah, retailed for $228. Announced January 19, 2020. So really quick reveal to release timeline there. Just announced this week and looks great. I think it does lack a little bit of weathering. I don't know. I can't remember from the show if he was more weathered or not, but I think it could have been a little bit better. But as far as the design goes, I think it's one of the cooler designs in the Star Wars galaxy. That red and white and black combo is just a good color scheme. So, and then obviously you pair that with the moment in the series, and for a lot of fans,
if you're gonna walk forward with your waist protruding in front of you like a boss, then you're gonna get some attention.
That's right. He was the next level boss. And it's got a great aesthetic. It breaks up, a trooper lineup for sure, adding that red in there. And it's definitely different than, what is it? Is it the Shock Trooper?
Yeah, Shock Trooper.
Yeah, from the Battlefront games. It's just cool. He's got the sweet flamethrower with a backpack. I mean, everything looks really good as far as the pauldron, the straps and everything. I mean, it's a cool figure. And like you guys said, I'm sure the actual suit and stuff was a lot more weathered. But it'll be fun to look back at the that episode and try to look at the comparisons. But it's just crazy, how early this one was. Kind of makes sense because it's some accessories and then a trooper repaint. But it's nice to see, especially before Mandalorian season 2 hits, and we just got the tease.
October
30th, and hopefully we'll see a trailer in the next 2 or 3 weeks, fingers crossed. And I don't think this guy's going to be in season 2, but you never know. I think he bit it hard.
Yeah, not sure how exclusive he'll be. And they reused him from The Force Unleashed. I think he appeared in that. And they obviously, as you said, Chris, it was essentially a repaint of a Rogue One Stormtrooper armor they had, and gave him a flamethrower. And here's his buddy, the Remnant Trooper, hooking him up. You're right, guys. Like, and we talked this about previously with like the 6-scale economist, and you've mentioned this too, Chris. If this is your only Hot Toy figure, I mean, it's going to be good. This is more works in ensemble. I think those that are trying to collect as many of the Mandalorian figures as they can, I think he'll fit in well. I think it's the best release that they've ever done. No, and TC, to your point, I think we may have seen the same review. Even some of the weathering on the red isn't even, it's like white paint on top of the red. So, I think it's not even maybe some of their finest weathering work. But if it's screen accurate, then maybe they did exactly what they were supposed to.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I'm not getting all of the Mandalorian figures, so I'm trying to slot it into the ranking system. And I think it's just going to miss the cut for me because I think you have to prioritize obviously Mando, and then Beskar Mando probably would be ahead of it. You've got the biker scout with or without the actual bike and went Baby Yoda. So I think, at best, this is the 4th best figure from the line. I mean, maybe even Heavy Mando's better. You drop to 5th, IG-11. It's just, if you're not collecting all of them, I can see why you would pass on this one, because especially if you've already got other troopers that are that Rogue One kind of design. I know this one's unique, and then in the moment in the series was great, but I don't know.
Yeah, when you start naming off all those figures that we've already that we're waiting on for the Mando series, yes, we got the Remnant Trooper, we get this guy. I have a feeling at the end of the day, when we look at that lineup, I mean, those two are probably going to be the two at the bottom. And it's not a bad thing, just because, they're all cool figures, but, I kind of feel like they're probably going to be towards the bottom of that line of figures. But
yeah, Chris, I think you're right. Like I'm looking at my Remnant Trooper on the shelf. It came in, and the weathering is, we've done a live unboxing in our group. It looks so much better in person than it does in photos. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm comparing that to what I'm seeing here on the screen, I almost might prefer the Remnant Trooper to this. If you're a fan of The Mandalorian, obviously this has a lot more sway.
Mm-hmm.
If you rank, let's just do a quick ranking of the 3 figures we've seen so far. I'm a little underwhelmed by this one. I might actually have it 3rd of 3 so far. I mean, and that might be kind of weird to slot the Remnant Trooper over it, but I think I was expecting just a little bit more from this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, it's more fits into an ensemble. I think if for whatever reason, or fingers crossed, we get a Moff Gideon or something, but you put this guy with Moff Gideon in the middle, couple Death Troopers, flanking him, and then you've got the Incinerator Trooper off to the side, and you've got a couple of Remnant Troopers to fill out the that lineup. I mean, I think that is that's a pretty sweet setup. But just having this guy by himself, I mean, I'm not a trooper focus collector, so I can see a trooper focus collector, like in this one a bit more, just because it adds a different element. Like
Elvis is pretty darn excited about this
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Yeah, I know.
So guys, before we get to some of the other figures, and to be honest, like that for us is one of the main 6-scale releases. I mean, in this show, we cover 6-scale figures, Hot Toys primarily, Marvel, Star Wars, DC, those 5% of figures that kind of fall into that other category. We don't even track them in our checklist. It's just time consuming, and there's just so infrequent. It's hard to be able to do that. So we're not going to slight any of these by any means. It's just, I don't think we can also speak with any authority on any of these things, because to be honest, guys, I don't know about some of this other stuff. But
yeah,
I just want to give a quick shout out. You guys can help me here. I see, I saw Gear Bear out there earlier. Mark, Elvis, J Rod, Andreas, Sean, 6-scale economist in the house.
Rob Grimes. I think it's a newer name.
Yeah.
Mike, one of our moderators out there doing a lot of great work.
Thomas. Yeah. Not Thomas Beto, Thomas
That's
Brown. Yep. Eric, Ghetto Ninja.
It's a collector.
Vegan X Army. Dirt 420. Yeah. Toy Mafia. Lots of Boba's Bounty. Lots of great faces. Ninja Squirrel 30. I love that name. That's awesome.
The Intergalactic Arms Dealer Mario himself is in the house. So Elvis is asking if I boxed up my short trooper yet. I have not, Elvis.
No.
I have not, and nor will I ever. That was my first figure. I would sell every other figure I have before I would ever sell that one. That was my gateway drug into you can even say, guys, that the short trooper is the fact that we even have 6-scale scavengers.
Yep.
You're selling the short trooper after Baby Yoda. So Beskar, Mando, and Baby Yoda go head to head. Short trooper wins.
It does, just for nostalgia's sake. So, but yeah, we'll get into our origin story at another time. So, guys, let's just quickly kind of power through. some of the other remaining news here, TC, we've got the Alita figure. As rumored, that Instagram account JLab had predicted it. They're also saying that we could see Wasp before September 7th. I think it's doable. I've got a theory. We don't get into theories too much or conspiracy theories here, but I almost wonder, guys, if he's friends with one of the photo bloggers for somebody, and he says, hey, JLab, I'm taking photos for Alita right now, and I think in some time in the next 2 weeks, I think Hot Toys is going to drop them, because to do the amount of photoshopping and everything that they do for those guys, it's not like they get them the day before and power through. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but
yeah,
just seeing like what some of the guys do on Instagram of that take action figure photography, like the setup and stuff for some of these, it just doesn't fall together. There's a lot of setup for some of these scenes, especially what we just saw for like the Incinerator Trooper. And speaking about, I'm just all over the place tonight here, guys. I apologize, but to see some of the tributes and stuff out there to Black Panther and Chadwick, I honestly got more choked up about some of that, just to see people, displaying their various different figures that they have, for Black Panther, whether it was Hot Toys or Mezco or Marvel Legends and SH Figure Arts, anything. And then to see, I think it broke my heart. I don't have the heart to tell my son yet. He's 8. He loves Black Panther. If I told him about what happened, I don't know if it would mean anything to him, because he wouldn't be able to delineate, the actor from being the person that played Black Panther. But to see kids, kind of staging like their own burial scene with like their toys and stuff. The amount of cross, I don't know, that just got me too. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm coming back to that, but this is still hitting me pretty hard.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a heartbreaking thing. And it's, I gotta say, like, it goes to show the type of person he was, and to make that impact on people, of all ages, kids, everything. So, yeah.
All right, let's get us back on track here. I'm the one that put us on a tangent, but I'm the moderator here, so I guess I can do that. So Alita Battle Angel released yesterday on September 1st, MMS520. Like I said, I personally didn't see the movie, guys. It wasn't something I pre-ordered. Chris, our friend Jenkin Wong, Figure Collecting for Dummy, did a unboxing video for that. So, yeah, shout out to our friend in the community, helping out collectors that see a figure that they may not see covered a lot from other channels and podcasts and YouTube stuff out there.
Yeah, if you're looking for that, if you're waiting on that figure and you just want, in-person unboxing, that sort of thing, definitely check out Figure Collecting for Dummy Facebook page. Jenkins got his video up on there, so it's just interesting. It's really it's extremely unique Hot Toys figure, no doubt. Obviously completely new mold. It's a regular release that has the PERS eyes that move, so that's a cool feature. And we're starting to see that a little bit more with that figure and the Ahsoka. I think that's going to be next level kind of thing for Hot Toys going forward. And yeah, it's just a cool looking figure. I definitely have to set aside some time to watch that movie, because a lot of people say it's a really fun and cool movie visually. So yeah, glad it's released for those that are looking forward to it.
TC, next up, we got late last night, or I guess early this morning, wherever you live in the world, we got a little bit of a tease about getting some Venom figures. And we've got that Venomized Groot life-size figure, not 6 scale. We saw in some of the Hot Toys Summer Showcase with the Sideshows con, the Groundhog Day con, where we say the same thing over and over and over again. I don't know. We don't badmouth things on this channel, on our show. If we don't like something, we usually just don't talk about it. That's our way to avoid conflict. So, I mean, it's out there. I mean, if it's your thing, I guess it looks, pretty good, but I don't know. I'm not sure how many people were really out there looking for that.
Is this thing related to Venom Pool?
I honestly don't that's why I didn't even really wasn't sure I wanted to talk about this, Chris. Yeah, we don't know anything. I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about it.
I think it's connected to either a cartoon series or something, because I think the Venom Pool is from a video game, and I just don't know really what it's from. But there seems to be a lot of other venomized cause babies and all that stuff coming from Hot Toys. It's just not a thing that really interests me at all. I mean, the Groot figure, like execution wise, and like it looks really well done and quality and everything, but it's just not, it does not appeal to me at all. But hey, if you're into that stuff, you get an option, sometime next year or 2 years from now, whenever it shows up.
That's yeah, it is what it is. Next thing up, and we didn't really have an opportunity to add too much to the show notes, or again, this is something that's not technically 6 scale. I know we covered it when it first dropped. We got another final product reveal for the Sideshow life-size child, their statue, Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call it. I think there's a little left to be desired. We're looking at one photo. Sideshow, if you're listening,
mm-hmm.
might want to give it. You might, yeah. I highly doubt it. You definitely give that another look-see, and I don't know. It's funny. I had it originally pre-ordered, and I had canceled it when I decided I probably wouldn't be able to display both that and the Hot Toys one, and my Maji case setup. So, I mean, I still know there are a lot of scavengers out there that have this on the way. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just like it was a really poor photo choice.
Mm-hmm.
So much, as we've talked about before too. Hot Toy collectors, TC, will get out the pitchforks and torches if there's a bad photo with bad lighting, and they will come from the hills and make sure you know that you took a bad photo.
I feel like Baby Yoda, while very cute, is very odd looking in his own right. And I feel like the scale of like cuteness is like very, very slim. Mm-hmm. So like any deviation from what was shown in the series is going to be like that's going to be like, I don't know, head scratching. It's going to make you cringe a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if the picture is just a bad picture or if it is something worse. But based on the prototype, it's not quite at that level.
No, I mean, Zach from Collecting Weekly, he did a side-by-side of the prototype and that picture. And again, it's really tough to compare side-by-side pictures because it's not the exact, like, they're not in the same room with the same lighting, everything, but there is just something off. The eyes, the chin, I don't know what, the coloring is a little bit different, but yeah, we'll see when people start getting it in hand. That's one that, because the prototype looks so good, I was bouncing back and forth, if I was going to get it. And yeah, Economist. Yeah, it's just that fine line. And I got to be honest, I'm fine with the plush ones that I got from my daughters. So cheap and effective.
But to your point, Chris, in a scale that is, there isn't as much attention to detail. They're produced more and mass produced, a cheaper cost point. I haven't thought really any of them have been really looking that good. Yeah. I think our family, we have one. I think it was one of the Disney parks one, and even that is still creepy looking. So on screen, as I think I'll agree with TC, we'll make it 3 for 3 here. It certainly looks adorable on screen. Outside of that, might be a little creepy. So, all right, guys, run along in news. Just one other quick thing. I'll throw it around to you guys. Any of these things that might be noteworthy. We've got from in stock or waitlist news from either Sideshow or some of our other smaller retailers we tend to frequent.
Yeah. Go ahead, TC.
Yeah, the so on Sideshow, Luke Skywalker, Last Jedi, the deluxe figure's about to hit waitlist. It's almost gone on Sideshow. The Remnant Trooper, Hawkeye, and War Machine Endgame are now all in stock, so you can go purchase those on Sideshow. And then the Mud Trooper and Justice League Superman are now in the category waitlist full. So it's pretty much sold out. The runs for those are pretty much done. So you have to hit the secondary market.
Right, and some of those DC figures, I mean, you can't find them anywhere. Especially the Justice League stuff. Batman, Superman, prices are just increasing. Seems weekly. The prices for those figures are going up. So it's just, I think, we don't really talk about it too much, but the DC fandom news and everything, I think, pushed anybody that was holding out over the edge, looking to acquire that stuff. So hopefully there's more to come.
So just a quick piece of information. Stevens Collectibles and more, great guy, great business. His Mud Trooper batch that he got was a partial batch. It was 2 figures. He got 2. A case of Hot Toys is 6. Iron Man is 3. He got 1/3 of a case, and that was his partial batch. I'm kind of thinking I'm not going to get a Mud Trooper at the way this is going right now. We'll see. A little bit concerned.
Just another reason, if you're ever on the fence about a figure, don't hesitate to pre-order, because you could run into a situation like that. I think this was a whole another beast of a whole nother thing that I'm sure we'll be talking about for quite some time, on this show in particular. But man, I hope that works out for you, TC. I know you may not be totally heartbroken, because I know you're kind of shifting your collection around anyways, but you still you don't want to not get a figure that you had planned on, at least. So
yeah, it's been paid for a while, so it's good value.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. For some reason, Scavengers love this segment, Collection Update. Why is beyond me. It's probably just because it's entertaining in itself, just to see how crazy we get. Just if you're the first time watching here, we go through and give updates that we have done since our last show, which is usually every 2 weeks. Anything coming or going, we usually don't get we have usually so much stuff coming and going, we don't have to fabricate any of the stories of maybe any of the window shopping we were doing, because we do that all the time too.
Right.
Chris, I'm looking at the notes here. I think you got the most, so I'm going to make you go last.
Okay.
I'm going to go first just because I don't want to get too much into my story, because it's actually part of the topic. So I'll go first, then TC, then Chris. All right, so first I'll start off with kind of my big shift, and I'll get more into it within our topic. But I did list my Hot Toys DeLorean Time Machine and Marty McFly from Back to the Future on eBay. It's kind of a big thing. I know if you go way back to the end of last year on our podcast, I talked about getting them. So I'll talk a little bit more about why I came to that decision and how I went about it and our topic. And before I kick it over to TC, we mentioned it on our bonus episode, but we didn't actually talk about our collection update. So from Underground Figures, I reached out to Ray, the owner. I said, Ray, before we even had the website ready to go, I said, I need the Ahsoka. I need the standard clone, 501st Clone Battalion. I need the deluxe. So hook me up with that. We've got his links to those on our site already. Guys, I looked yesterday, and I think he's already sold out of Ahsoka and the deluxe. He only has the standard clone left. So you're going to start seeing that with these smaller retailers. The hype is real. Mm-hmm. Hype is very real about these Clone Wars figures. He does have both Anakins still, which is surprising. The one with the STAP, the STAP, and the standard one, that might not even last that much longer. And we know that the smaller retailers, their allotments are obviously smaller. They do have a cap, and once they meet that cap, they can't sell anymore unless they beg and borrow and ask for more. So that's my update. I'll get a little bit more into it in our topic. TC, what did you got in this last 2 weeks?
Yeah. Right before I get to that, just side story. So I'm on the collecting weekly talked about this yesterday in their podcast. And shout out to Collecting Weekly, Zach Dean and the crew. Great show. Give them a listen. But they were talking about this yesterday. Alter Ego sent out an email, a rare email, not from Alter Ego, but just with the insight about how retailers get their stock. So the current state of I guess retail small shop ordering is depending on how many orders in the past and how large your orders are. That is what's giving you more Ahsokas, more the clones. It's the size of your account, and historically how much you order in the past determines how much you get of these Ahsokas. So it's just interesting to know that yes, different retailers, newer ones or ones that don't place as many orders, you're going to get like 2 Ahsokas, 3 Ahsokas. The stock is going to be very, very minimal. So like Bryan said, get your orders in. This is not one to wait around on. The $25 you could lose out on to save you $150 as soon as this thing sells out. It's going to have an automatic spike. You may as well just do it. But anyway, side story over. Onto the collection. I didn't get anything in this week and the last 2 weeks. Nothing in. I was hoping the the Far From Home homemade suit Spider-Man would be in, but it's not. So I'll have to wait on that one. But as far as pre-ordering goes, I mentioned this in the last episode. I pre-ordered 2 of the Snips, Ahsoka Tano, 2 of those figures, and I got 6 501st Deluxe figures pre-ordered, and it might not be done. We'll see what happens in the next few months. This is why, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm going to pass on a few figures that I was probably going to get, like the Incinerator Trooper, maybe a few more of the Mando figures, because I'm going to try and save and trying to go in and have myself a little mini army of clones, because as I continue to delve into the series, started to like it more. And I just think that these, if I can pick an area of Star Wars, I think this is the best one for me to go into, because it allows me to army build, allows me to kind of follow my Iron Man type collecting, and I do like that. And even though I won't be able to pick up as many of the other figures, I'll be able to go further into this line, and I think it's a great line to go into. It's exciting, and I've been around for a while in this game, and to be like truly excited for a figure this far out, it's it's not rare, but it's it's a little less common than I'd like it to be. So I'm excited, and we'll see if it goes above 6. I have a feeling it's going to go quite a bit above 6, so we'll see.
Well, maybe wait and see if we get any more troopers, because I mean, if the troopers that go with General Kenobi,
that's true.
With Cody, I meant to say. So I mean, the 212 attack battalion, as we talked about on our bonus episode with the 6 skeleton.
So do you think those are going to come out in the next year? Like, if you were just to guess, or are they going to space them like you're like talking like 2021 release, end of the year 2020 release for reveal?
I think we're going to see the reveal of those before the end of the year, if I had to guess. And they'll space them out a little bit, but I think we're going to see another banner day where we get General Kenobi, as Mike said in our group. It's kind of his season 1 through like 3.5 look. You're going to see probably some of those other clones. That might even time with Cody coming out. You might see Cody released, and then maybe on the same day you see General Kenobi and the other clones from the 212. I think I commend you, my friend, for going after a lot of those clones, but I think there'll be other variations. So like, I think 6 is a good number, because then you could do, 2 and 4, 3 and 3, using the 332nd Ahsoka helmet. I didn't screw it up this time, guys. Or the 501st. I think, as we talked about with The Economist, like 501st is easily probably the most famous battalion, just because it was Anakin Skywalker's. But I think there's others out there with their pretty cool, pretty cool color schemes and stuff. You might be able to. That's
true.
Have a whole wall of clones of different colors.
That would be nice.
That'd
be
so maybe cool. Just wait and see. I mean, I think even if you had to go to Sideshow to get more, I think you can, and you got time. And we're talking 2021, 2022 on those. So
you're right.
Occasionally I am.
Who do you have, Captain Rex? Do you have Captain Rex on order?
I do. I have I have 2 of the Cody figures on order. I do have Captain Rex on order. I just like them better. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna order Anakin. I think that's like blasphemous. Or Obi-Wan. I just like the designs of these. I like the fact that the clones are on the hero's side rather than all the stormtroopers that are generally on the Empire or the whatever Moff Gideon's squad or the Rogue One enemies. I like the fact that they're heroes, so build around that. And just great colors. Like a 5-year-old, I like the colors.
Yeah, and we can start expecting to see maybe con exclusives and
that's
and
true.
all
That
sorts
would
of different.
that would be great.
And then
Yeah,
the commanders, the captains.
They get into like even
Sideshow went deep with these. I think we could
EGM stuff and yeah.
All right, Chris, what do you got for updates?
Just a few things. Like you guys, pre-ordered Ahsoka, 501st Deluxe Clone Trooper, and Clone Wars Anakin regular exclusive, all from Sideshow. But I also locked in orders for Ahsoka or another Ahsoka and another 501st Deluxe Trooper from Underground Figures, kind of spreading things out. So getting some Clone Wars action in there, just like TC. I decided because of all this stuff coming out, I decided if Big Bad Toy Store was ever to get this figure, I had my doubts, but I canceled my pre-order for Gimli, the Asmus figure. Let's see. Received my Mud Trooper and my Remnant Trooper from Underground Figures. I have not unboxed either one of those yet. And then I got my vintage Boba Fett from Sideshow. Opened that during the unboxing video we did a couple days ago on the Facebook group. I also decided to purchase the Hot Toys Wakanda throne from Underground Figures. So yes, right up here. I mean, I ordered that on Saturday and I got it Monday from Ray. So
wow.
Just amazing. And I'm really surprised at the size. Yeah, there he is. TC's got it too. I was actually surprised at the size of that thing. And kind of dogged it when it first got released, but actually having it in hand, I can see, it really adds to a display and that sort of thing. And Ray had it for a great price. And like I said, shipped it out like literally within minutes of me ordering it.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's only like $100.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I got it. I think it ended up being like $113 shipped. So I didn't really shop around. I knew Ray had it in stock. It's on waitlist at Sideshow. So yeah, definitely pair that with my other Black Panther figures. So yeah, I did that. And then Young Han is finally shipping from Big Bad Toy Store. I'm hoping to get it tomorrow, hopefully. But I mean, man, like it's an awesome figure. We reviewed it a couple episodes ago. But just the delay of Big Bad Toy Store, like it's kind of lost its luster. But once I get it in hand, I think it'll, that'll, my want of that figure will get bumped back up. But yeah. And then I just want to point out, not that these are new purchases or anything, but I've got a couple of special comic books right behind me. I've got Fantastic Four number 53. Yep, number 53. That's the second appearance of Black Panther, and it has his origin story. So a very key issue in Marvel Comics. And then over here is Black Panther number 1 in his first standalone series. So just some, just represent Black Panther, as a whole. I know that's way before Chadwick's time, but definitely what helped pave the way for him and the development of the character. So yeah, that's it for me.
Not one of our crazier updates, but still enough going on that, people like to hear about. So let's shift gears, guys. And as I teased about it, with I kind of punted a little bit on my update, but got a little inspired for our topic this time out. And as it usually does, usually something happens in between a show, and we kind of talk as a Scavengers Council, and kind of thinking of like what we might want to talk about, what Scavengers might want to hear about. And I've been kind of on the fence recently about having my DeLorean and Marty McFly figure. Like many that grew up in the 80s, I've got a strong affinity for that movie. It's great. It's a great trilogy, great music, great acting. It's just great. And it's why last year that I wanted to add that to my collection. I mean, for a lot of people, the DeLorean's kind of like a grail piece. And it was enough that I paid quite a bit for it. I felt comfortable at the time. I had sold a bunch of Marvel stuff to get it at the time. But right now, I kind of have a temporary display still with a couple detops, because I've, like many people, waiting for my module cases to come in. Although I know a lot of Scavengers are starting to get theirs that were shipped in July, which I can't wait to see, like Danny and Sean and others, Austin, to see their setups. But I'm also really jealous too. So I'm seeing my DeLorean on the top of my detops across two of them. And I'm looking at what eventually my module case setup will be, and stacking 4 of the 110 6-scale cases. The very top of that was going to be 6.5 feet off the ground. You can't see it because usually I'm sitting down on the podcast and the show here on YouTube. I'm 6'1", so I'll have to look up at it, and it just won't fit. I originally, way back, thought I would put it on one of the shelves, but I've just got so many figures now that it just would have to be on the top. So I'm like, for what I paid for it, is it really doing it justice to be there? And even you can kind of see over here this new bookshelf that I now can have, because thank you, Scott, for hooking me up with one of his extra HD 1080p webcams. That's why you're seeing a little bit more widescreen than you typically do on my side here. None of my shelves on that are actually long enough to be able to display it there either. So I just thought, like, okay, I love this movie. Do I need to have something in my collection that constitutes or represents my love for that movie? And I ultimately decided, instead of just ready, set, fire, like I would have in the past, like just get a thought in my head, as Country Club was saying earlier, I've got my schizophrenic updates that I just get an idea and I'm like, okay, let's do it. I decided that, okay, let me see if I'm going to miss it first. I'm going to box it up. So I boxed up my Marty figure. I boxed up the DeLorean. I took photos at the same time, just in case that I did ultimately want to decide to part with it. But I decided, okay, I'm going to put it aside for, I think it was on Saturday or Sunday this past week, which still, trust me, I'll get to the point. It was still a big step for me. But I decided, okay, let's box it up. You know, as I was boxing up, I'm like, you know, this is still really cool. But I'm like, I still, you know, I would be okay with it if I had to go. So put it into storage. It hasn't been on display. So I've been working in my office here all week, and I haven't really missed it. And I ultimately just decided I could really turn this into something cool that might fit even better. My son is a huge fan of like the Hulkbuster design. So I'm getting maybe tempted that I might be able to turn it into that, or with just so many Star Wars and stuff, things coming up, that might be the case. But I think giving myself the opportunity to maybe miss it a little bit and then still have the opportunity to just open the box and put it back up, I think was at least a big win for me, kind of as a collector. And, you know, along the theme here, guys, with, you know, Back to the Future, and we've learned so much, Chris, since we started episode 000 back in August 2018. TCU came on board last summer officially. You've actually been on the podcast more than half the time, so you're part of the institution now. We've learned so much as collectors. We've made a lot of mistakes along the way. We talk about it every 2 weeks with our collection updates, and people see all the good and bad things that we do. You know, talking with a council, you know, thought like, hey, let's bring this up and just say maybe this is an opportunity just to see, you know, if you're thinking about selling something, before you actually go with the act of it, put it aside and then see if you miss it. And if you do, just unbox it. And come to find out, guys, a lot of Scavengers have been doing that. Or like our friend Roy doesn't have the space to display all of his collection, but he would be one of the last people that would ever sell a figure. He sold a few recently, but not all of them. I mean, what guys would you tell your past self what not to do? Chris, I think I'll start with you, and I'm guessing you might tell yourself not to part out figures.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say. We talked about it in the past, and yes, Bryan went through a phase, and that phase rubbed off on me. And the only time that actually I parted out 2 figures 100%, and both times it was very financially beneficial for me, but I parted them out 100%. When you start parting out figures that halfway or a little bit here and there, it really you find out that if you wait too long, it's going to be hard to find some of those parts. It took me 6 months to find a baby Luke to put back in my.
Well, usually they frown upon that, Chris. You usually can't buy a baby on eBay.
I kept on getting banned for searching for babies, but no, it was just that in itself at the time, I'm like, okay, if I can sell this for, I can get the deluxe for a certain amount, and then sell one part of it, it brings the overall cost down. But for me, as time went on, I sold off most of the figures that I had parted out, bases and that sort of thing. And the return was a lot less, even though, and what I had sold the part for. So I sold like an Iron Patriot. Yes, exactly, Mike. And so that right there, the OCD feeling of not having a complete figure started to creep back in for the figures that I wanted to keep in my collection. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely, there's a lot of sellers that do it. You look on eBay and there's, so many different figures. It's not even just Hot Toys, 6-scale figures, all different brands, third-party stuff. I mean, just everything is broken down and parted out. But usually the most desirable pieces get bought up first, and you never are going to be able to find them. Like if you parted out a Death Trooper Specialist Deluxe, or you sold the little Stormy doll, I mean, good luck ever finding one to put back in that set. You'd have to pay a ton of money. So yeah, just looking back, some of the other regrets or some of the other things that I would tell myself, 2.5 years ago, maybe
Don't be friends with Bryan.
Well, I mean, that's a different story, but
That is.
I would say, TC, he calls me out on all the time, going for the secondary, tertiary characters right off the bat. I would probably have focused more on the, some of the figures that I looked at the price tags at the time, and I'm like, oh man, I can get, an Age of Ultron Hawkeye and, whatever figure. I can get 2 of these figures for the price of that Iron Man figure. And then now I sold off, those 2 figures, and I never got the Iron Man figure. It's like just one of those things, prioritize. I definitely, with this hobby and with any area of collecting, usually when you get in, you go in hard and fast, and you can get burnt out really quickly. You start going for all the different deals. You're pre-ordering like crazy. Definitely, I would say look at what Hot Toys has to offer, look at the figures that are available at retail, pick the ones that you want the most. Just those are some of the things that I kind of wish I had known starting out. But I mean, we all live and learn, and a lot of us learn the hard way. Hopefully our mistakes are helping, veteran collectors, new collectors, and that's why we like to talk about this stuff and have have the podcast. But what are you feeling, TC? Like,
well, it's interesting because Hot Toys, like if you were collecting before a couple years ago, back into like 2015 is like when I first found out about Hot Toys. They were not the same juggernaut that they are today. So like things have changed. So like you're kind of growing with the company. It's kind of interesting. A lot of times the stuff that I've collected in the past, it's stuff that's out of print or retired items that you're collecting after the fact. But everyone here is kind of just growing with Hot Toys. As Hot Toys chugs along, the collectors come in and they go along for the ride with them. So to learn along the way is expected. And so, going back 5 years, I probably would have just told myself to just collect what's your favorite thing. Stick with that. Because I look back at my first figures, I had a few of the Star Wars ones, but I did have a pretty decent amount of Iron Man figures. Now, at the time I was single, I lived in about a room this size. I didn't have my own house, so I had nowhere to put the stuff. And I ended up when I ended up moving, I ended up moving on from this stuff. But this is, back when the Mark III diecast came out, that the Mark III Stealth, the turquoise one, I had that figure. I had the 42. I had a couple. I had the Mark 43 quarter scale. I had this stuff. But then I would, when I came back like a couple years later, I kind of dabbled in other things. But now everything's coming back to Iron Man. So I just say, if you just find your favorite items, find your favorite line, stick with that. I know it's hard, and I deviate too. You see me here tonight pre-ordering clones. But if you can just if you just find your primary like, go with that. Because now Hot Toys has the catalog. Before they didn't have the catalog. Back when you was at MMS552, that's when Age of Ultron stuff kicked off. And then you had the Star Wars stuff. And then Civil War. And then Infinity War, Rogue One. All this other stuff has come on late. It just wasn't there in 2015, but now you have the pick of the litter.
Yeah.
And there's so much out there. We're on almost at MMS 600. It's crazy. It's almost 400 more figures back since when I first started that, like looking at Hot Toys. And it's just crazy. So now that you have your catalog, you can just pick out the stuff that you really want, and you can build from there, because Hot Toys, they're not going anywhere. And I think they're just going to continue to push the envelope and push forward.
Yeah. I mean, yep. Sorry. No, I was just going to say, like you say in TC, Hot Toys is just going to keep pushing forward and pushing the envelope. They get licenses, to all these major franchises, and even some of the smaller ones. So who knows what else they're going to be pushing out in the next couple of years going forward. So we are kind of growing with the company and seeing how things progress. It's not like Hasbro or, some of these bigger companies, Mattel, companies that have been around forever. It seems like, and you kind of know what to expect with some of their lines and that sort of thing. But I definitely, again, we go back to it, planning out, direction, just, figuring out what you want most in this area of collecting. And for some, you just, if you're one that likes to dabble in a lot of things, and not go too hard in every line, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fun having a super, a lot of variety in your collection, but definitely make sure every figure is one that you want 100%. Unless and if you want something else out of this area of collecting, you check out Six Scale Economist and see what he's recommending and talking about. And, there's just so many different ways to collect and the direction to go in. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, no, it's all right. That was a good point. It's a better point than I was going to make. So I was just going to come back and say, ultimately, if I could tell myself one thing, is these wild collection swings usually don't work out in my favor. So I think that pause, and you guys have both said it too, is like the more you can get at retail, the better. If you chase older figures, if you come in new to collecting, if you're a new scavenger, welcome. But if you are, as tempting as it is, to go into our website, sixscalescavengers.com, and you go back through the database of the figures you would have missed, every figure that you pay over retail is one less figure you're probably going to be able to get. And I've done a lot of window shopping lately about diecast Iron Man figures. I had Marks 2 through 6 at the time. I talked about this before too. And I have so much regrets right now of just, trying to chase them down after I sold them. I might be able to get them back for what I sold them for. But I think ultimately what I'm going to decide to do is just bite the bullet on it. Just decide that I had them once, to own them again would be cool, but it's just not going to be in the cards. So I think like TC, just kind of focusing on what I can still get at retail. Maybe there's a scavenger deal or something that comes along, but you can't count on those things. So, and I don't know, with some of the Iron Man, like TCU and I were discussing before we even live, is now that Hot Toys has shown a willingness to do a reissue, if I go out and pay top dollar for a Mark 6, could they reissue it? It's possible. The 5, the 4. I mean, those are 4, 5, and 6 to me are like some of the best diecast figures that they've done that aren't available at retail now. The 2 and the 3, not as much, and they don't even scale right, if you ask me, if you look at comparison shots. But that's what I would tell myself. I mean, there's so much we could just keep talking on and on and on about this, but we have an agenda to stick to, so we're going to kind of wrap it up. So I know a lot of scavengers are typing live, maybe some advice that they would share with themselves. We'd love if you are, as Mike was just telling everybody, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, all that fun YouTube stuff. But maybe add a comment if you're watching this afterwards. Like, what would you tell yourself a couple of years ago? Would you tell yourself even a couple of months ago if you're a new collector? On trying to avoid those regrets. A couple people, I thought I saw Tony out there mention, or J Rod, I can't remember who it was, like, the FOMO, the fear of missing out. It's real. You're not going to be able to own everything. Just the more that you can accept the fact that you're not going to own everything makes it a lot easier. So great topic, guys. All because I decided to box up two of my probably most valuable things I have in my collection. But it's on eBay. We'll see how it goes. I've been getting some bids while we've been talking here, so I don't know if it's scavengers or just people in general, but I'll give an update when that's done. I think I did like a 10-day listing. I think it'll be wrapped up before we record again, but we'll come back to this again.
Yeah, I do want to just add one thing right before we move on. And Roy, he's talked about it with us. The fact that there's a lot of us collectors that our stuff is not displayed all the time, or we're getting ready to have a display, and our figures are boxed up, and they're most of the time, for me, they're out of sight, out of mind. I know that I have them, but it's a little bit tough having the figures tucked away. A few episodes ago, I mentioned I was thinking about selling my Daredevil and Punisher, and because I haven't looked at them in forever, I was like, yeah, I can get rid of those. Well, I take them out and I start taking pictures of them for, to list them. And I'm like, and then I see Scott's setup that he's got in the background of Parker Files of Punisher and Daredevil. And I'm like, I can't sell these figures. And so it's like a reversal. You reopen that figure and you're like, okay, I really do love this figure. So anybody that's got figures boxed up, open them back up, bring back that love of the figure. And if it's not there, then it's time to move on. If it's still there, it's worth holding on to. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And just saying hello to our friend Sean who popped in and talking a little bit about reissues and stuff. So good stuff there. Like I said, we could just keep talking more and more about that. We'll come back to it at another time. But we do have to get to our future figure review. I think we were hoping that TC was going to have his in hand. Chris, you just unboxed yours the other day. Our friend Scott with Parker Files. Guys, I'm biased, but I think his videos are some of the best out there. Just his style, just the calmness about it, the production value, everything's there. He loves this figure. I'm not gonna, check out his video for his thoughts.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I watched it again.
Like just a little bit of a teaser. Don't just assume that this is exactly the same as the first release. He actually goes into a lot of detail about why and what is different about this versus the Spider-Man Homecoming first release. Obviously, this doesn't have the head sculpt, but anyways, let's bury the lead. Let's check out some of these cool photos. TC, Spider-Man homemade suit, MMS552 from Spider-Man Far From Home line. The original MSR price of $267 was originally announced August 27th, 2019, and we got this at the end of June in Hong Kong, June 29th, 2020. It's been shipping. I think it's in stock at Sideshow. Some of the smaller retails, TCs, are starting to get this figure.
Yeah, it's shipping from smaller retailers and Sideshow. And like you said, about a year, or a little less than a year from release to final issue. And I mean, it's interesting because, going into it, collectors, you don't know what Hot Toys is going to do to improve upon the figure. You think it's going to be the same, but it's not the same figure. There are a couple of improvements. I think there's now toe articulation that was not on the first copy. I have the first version with the Tom Holland head sculpt. This one does not come with the head sculpt, like you said, Bryan, but then it has magnets for the eyepieces. The old version had these little like plugs where you have to pull off the eyes, and that can sometimes damage the figure if the plug comes out of the socket, and then you're kind of screwed. So some improvements there, and I think they also changed the stitching on the pants. So the stitching on the pants actually looks like stitching on normal pants, where everything's hidden on the first release. I think the stitching, you could see it along the outside of the pants that you can't see it on the new one. And I think that some of the material is a little bit different on the masked head sculpt than the first release. I'm not positive, but I think that might also be a little different. Plus, you get the drone.
The drone looks awesome, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does look awesome. It also, when you're trying to put it on the stand and you don't have it on all the way, it will fall off. And I dropped it on the floor. But thankfully, it landed on something soft. I was freaking out. That was right before we got on. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, rushing to set something up, not a good idea. Hot Toys deserve your full attention. But I mean, again, we talked about it on my unboxing the other night. This was a figure I missed the first release. I think it had already come out by the time I started collecting. Stupidly passed on a sub $200 purchase, and been chasing ever since. And right not too long after that, the price shot up, and just couldn't justify spending it. I think at one point, I don't know what the market is now for that figure, but I think it was like well over $400. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I had two. I sold one for like $450. Kept the other one. Now it's like a $250 figure.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. So again, we talk about you never know when they're going to reissue, or not necessarily reissue, but
find another reason to bring in a figure. You get the Death Trooper and Mandalorian.
Yeah. And even though this version of Spidey had just a super short appearance in Far From Home, it allowed Hot Toys to, to release another version of the figure with, a small amount of updates and improvements, for the Far From Home line, and with other releases coming, other movie franchises and stuff like that, you never know when a character is going to, don an older outfit or something, and see another version of that figure. But I love this figure, just messing around with it. Again, the drone is super detailed. We've got that drone set as an option to get even more. I just, it's a fun figure to picture and pose and mess around with. And the bloggers love this one because you get endless amounts of shots with them. Yeah.
Yeah, TC. I mean, Chris mentioned it. One of the big deterrents for any Spider-Man figure is Hot Toys goes for, accuracy first, movie accuracy, video game accuracy, whatever it is. Sometimes they sacrifice articulation, posability. When essentially you have a sweatsuit on, you're not going to wrinkle this thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're not. Or the wrinkles are going to be normal wrinkles you get in a sweatsuit. Nothing that is damaging. That is the major downside. Everyone knows that. It's been collecting Hot Toys for more than a minute. You can pose your Spider-Man figures. It's not like they can't be, but if you leave them in dynamic poses, you're gonna ruin the suit. So you got to be cautious. And the great thing about this one is they don't sacrifice anything. So the aesthetic matches exactly what you see in film. And then just by doing that and creating that figure, you then have a figure that has easily the best articulation you could argue of any figure, besides like an Iron Man figure. I love this one. So I had this one in order, like I said earlier, but I am glad I saw the first one because I do, for my display, I do want that Tom Holland head sculpt.
Yeah,
it's critical for what I want to use in my display, and I'm glad that each figure release has its own advantages. So the advancements on this one negated by the fact that it doesn't have Tom Holland's head sculpt, but then again, another plus on this one, it's got the drone, so it comes at you with good variety between the two releases, and each one is still solid, and that's kind of how I like to see it for reissue type figures.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta add, I know Scott really makes an emphasis on the box art for these figures, and the box for this one is right up there. It's a really cool design. You've got, let's see,
it's got the Mysterio dome.
Yeah, it's like the characters inside of Mysterio's dome, and it's got a cool slip cover. It's a really, I mean, again, Hot Toys putting in the extra effort for the quality of the box art, and then you get the Spider-Man underneath. It's just the thoughtfulness and the artistry at work, with all the people involved with Hot Toys, not only with the figure but with the box art design and that sort of thing.
I mean, yeah, this just it's a good release. I was tempted. I've got Iron Spider thanks to my friend TC here in my collection. I'm a little weird, but that's my favorite Spider-Man suit that they've had in the MCU so far. Obviously, you can't pose that at all. Might be blasphemous. I just haven't really ever dug this suit, guys. Like, if I'm gonna have this up against the Scarlet Spider, which was inspired by, that's the one I kind of like. I mean, yes, it is Spider-Man. It's just, I think for that, I don't think there was a reason for me to add this one. I just wish they could figure out how to get the articulation for the other ones. I don't know if they ever can, just because of this. It's the suit material.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a fan of Spider, yeah,
it's a little bit steep in price too. It was $270 plus shipping and tax. It's like over $300 for most people to get this in hand. So I can see that could deter some people.
Yeah, I can see it potentially being available for quite some time, just because there are still quite a few Spider-Man figures in stock and, coming shortly. So, I mean, we still got all the other figures from the Spider-Man figures from this movie.
Yeah. So you got the Spider Monkey.
Yep, and the
Night Monkey.
I was going to say that didn't sound right, and I said that out loud. Glad TC caught me. Night Monkey,
the upgraded suit,
upgraded advanced suit,
and the quarter scale,
scale. Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely options for Spider-Man. I mean, I think, like you've said before, Chris, I know Scott feels the same way. I mean, Spider-Man is just a beloved comic book character. Has a long history. I'm so glad he's in the MCU. Yep. Spidey shirt on there, Chris. Yep. And I mean, we've said it. It's not like an original thought here, but I mean, Spider-Man is definitely kind of like Hot Toys' new Iron Man. I think you're going to see a lot of Spider-Man as much as possible. And we're just, hopefully people don't lose the specialness of what a Spider-Man figure is, because just because there's a glut of them out there for the PS4 game doesn't mean that it makes any of these MCU ones any less special. Yeah. And I think mentioning Scott here, I just saw him popping out in the chat, and he says he wants that Stanley reissue. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I think they're just going to keep giving us his cameos, but certainly can hope. And as we just talked about, make sure you check out Scott's video on Parker Files, where he swoons over this figure, probably even a little bit more than we have here.
Yeah, and then just briefly, these digital effects, the pixelated effects. Scott was brave enough to mount those to the base to see how they looked, but it's something that Hot Toys threw in there. Not the greatest quality, but they're always trying to look to see what they can add to a figure or display, and maybe this one, those effects didn't quite hit the mark with this one, but maybe they improve and try to come up with something different down the line for another figure.
All right, guys, let's rate this thing. I can't think of anything on the spot, so I'm going to put you guys on the spot, see if you can come up with a rating scale of 5 on this one.
I mean, Spidey's standing on it.
The drone?
Yeah.
How many drones, Chris, would you rate homemade suit Spider-Man from From Home MMS552?
I mean, overall, I think it's a great figure, a great release. I'm as good as it is. I still, it's not one of the best figures I have. I would probably put it at 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
And of course, we're no help to you because we don't have it in hand. So.
It's a good score. I like it.
Yeah, I think you got to factor in, like you said, TC, the price and not having a head sculpt. Granted, he does not have the suit on with a face, his face shown in the movie, so not, really screen accurate if they gave a head sculpt. But you get the drone and some other accessories. But yeah, it's pretty much where it stands for me. Sorry. This is going to stand in for the Homecoming version against Vulture when Yost releases the Iron Scavenger. So this is going to be set up with him.
That's what TC wants. I can tell. He wants it for display.
I do, but it's not being released till next year.
Yeah, okay.
It was supposed to be now. I mean, it's understandable. No issues there. But it's you're excited.
It's already been. I've already had it paid off for like 3 months or something.
Yeah.
But again, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, Yost the Sync from Jazz Inc. Dioramas does some amazing, small production custom jobs. So check out his group. But he's coming out with a Vulture Iron. He calls it the Iron Scavenger, and it's pretty epic. The amount of R&D he's gone into to perfect that figure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Yost is like blowing up his Batmobiles and the Alpine cockpit and stuff. We don't talk about it too often on our show here, but obviously he has quite a bit of customers out in the collecting community. So I don't think anybody is completely unaware of what great work that Yost and his father are doing. So good stuff there. So guys, a little bit of a different show this week. I feel like I wasn't necessarily on my game with kind of the different format and stuff we did, but we show up every 2 weeks. We talk about this stuff. We have fun regardless. We laugh. We don't cry. Maybe I'll cry if I have all these other collection updates.
I can't say that for before the show. That was definitely tough time. But yeah, I mean, again, and we're a little bit lighter this week because we had such an amazing bonus episode last week, and we really went in depth on the releases, the Star Wars releases from Hot Toys, Ahsoka, the Clone Troopers and that sort of thing. So yeah, and Hot Toys didn't give us a ton of 6 scale news that really fits what we focus on.
No, they didn't, but that's all right. So guys, we'll do our plugs. We've got our website, 6scalescavengers.com, our databases and our checklist. You can go through and find out all the Hot Toys that have been ever released. TC, I am so mad at myself. I found out this past week that I missed a figure.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned it before on the podcast. I don't know if you're giving me hints or not, saying, hey, you numbskull, you don't have it there. But there was a Mark 42 that was a Shanghai exclusive. I should have the MMS number ingrained in my brain right now. But I saw somebody asking for the figure on another OSR BST group. And I looked at it and I did not have it in my database. Now there's not a lot of information out on this figure out there. It also is not on the official Hot Toys page, so I had to go hunting for it. We do have a page now for that figure.
MMS 340.
MMS 340. It looks like a fantastic figure. It actually looks like they kind of repainted the Mark 43, which the original Mark 42. There's some improvements and stuff there. Like I said, I couldn't hardly find any information about the figure, and it looks like it's going for a pretty penny on the secondary market. So, but anyways,
Can't even find it.
You really can't. So that's in the database now. So with the other stuff, Marvel, Star Wars, and DC Comics. So that's all out there. We have our TeePublic store. You'll see the link in our outro video. 6 Scale Scavengers. We have our Facebook page that's out there, our public page. We're on Instagram and Twitter a little bit. Our audio podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, our audio podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and 6scalescavengers.libsyn.com. And again, we shouted them out a bunch of times during the show, but make sure you're subscribed to Parker Files on YouTube, official Hot Toys video reviewer of 6 Scale Scavengers. Just did a review today for Red Skull, did one for Falcon, a couple of retro reviews. And as we talked about, make sure you go check out his video for the homemade suit, Spider-Man from Far From Home.
Yeah. And I just want to throw down a challenge to see if anybody can find any other missing figures from Bryan's checklist.
Dude, that caused my OCD to go into overdrive. Like you guys know in the council how mad I was at myself. You guys probably were just like, who cares? I care. Like, that's my baby. I've been actually, that thing existed, Chris, before we even had 6 Scale Scavengers. We had it on a different website and we migrated it over. I mean, my database it's basically since the end of 2017, I think I've been tracking stuff. So to miss one is disappointing.
I know. And I just gotta reiterate, like, that those databases are the best on the internet. Like, you won't find a better list of, Marvel, DC, Star Wars. I mean, it just brings you to all the information you need to know. And I would definitely check out our website. And it's just a fun way to go through and look at the history of Hot Toys for those particular lines, and just see how things progress. It's just fun to click on the different, the different links and just see, what the progression of Hot Toys, even if you don't have the figures in hand. It's a great resource for collectors, and you just do an amazing job.
Thank you, my friend.
I second that. Very good website.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any other closing thoughts? I know we kind of had a little bit of a somber opening.
No, I mean, just, we'll see again, as always, see what Hot Toys has coming our way in the short term, in the next couple weeks, to see if Wasp is coming. That's a figure that got delayed, so many times, and I canceled my pre-order, so I don't have anything locked in for that figure, but it is a figure I'd like to add to my collection eventually. And, just see if we're going to get some more of these figure releases and reveals and just complete, continue to have our bank accounts be sucked dry of money. So anyway, it was a good chat, guys.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Letty for the great Spider-Man pose behind him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even see that. You pointed it out.
Yeah. He's hanging out. He's like, all right, guys, shut the heck up. Like,
yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody tuning in live, everybody catching this on the replay afterwards. We appreciate all the support. All right, my friend Chris, bring us home.
Excelsior.